exclusive for you this morning. You wouldn't expect any less, would you? This is Joe 90 without his trousers on. This is, you've even got his Michael Caine glasses there. This is just one of a collection of puppets, marionettes up for sale today, and probably the most unusual and most talked about toy auction in Britain. All part, of course, of Sylvia Anderson's collection. She was one half of that team that brought you such things as Thunderbirds, but Joe 90, Captain Scarlet. And along here, all these heads are up for sale as well. You can pick them up for £150, £200 a time or so. And of course, the Captain Scarlet people were based on real-life characters. Captain Scarlet himself was modelled on Cary Grant, they say. Who do you think this looks like? He's one of his friends. Boof on the hair a bit. It could be Tarzan, Michael Heseltine, couldn't it? Was he around in those days? Now around here we have the real stars of the show. The main one, I think, being Lady Penelope, the posh blonde in the real mink coat. And this is all real. This was actually in the film itself, Thunderbirds Argo, and the coat is made from the real McCoy. This could set you back £25,000 and upwards if you've bid for it from midday today down at Phillips. Cheaper things are such things as these, hands from Thunderbirds. You could buy a box of these for about £80. Now see if you can spot any of these hands in action. Oh, they bring back such childhood memories, don't they? Now blow me if I'm not being joined here by, in real life herself, the wife of Virgil, the pilot of Thunderbird 2. Or could it be Glo Thorogood from High Wycombe?
Yes, that's me.
Now how often do you dress up as this?
Well, I dress up like this for conventions and when I'm asked to show off the fact that Thunderbirds is still something that's really big.
Now you're not such a great fan, you're a huge fan in that you actually took up your career because of Thunderbirds.
Well, I wanted to be a pilot, but in the dim distant past when I decided that, because I needed glasses to see and I was a girl, they didn't like pilots like that. So I thought, what's the next best thing? And discovered that there was such a thing as an air traffic controller, which was on the first episode of Thunderbirds, and I thought, I'll go for that.
You didn't dress up like this, directing people in the sky?
Not on your life.
I'm glad to hear that. But your husband is still on?
My husband's still there.
Do you get slightly embarrassed by this, does he?
Well, yes, but then wouldn't you?
Tell us about Lady Penelope, because she's the star of the show, really. Perhaps £25,000 she might be for today.
Very true, yes. Elegance, charm and deadly danger. Not a bimbo at all.
And based on Sylvia Anderson?
So I believe, yes.
With a voice?
It was Sylvia that voiced her, definitely.
Okay. Well, let's see Lady Penelope in action. It's a shame that we don't have Penny Smith. No disrespect to Joe sitting on the sofa, because then we could have said, couldn't we, Glo? We got a...
She's with us this morning, the real thing. Sylvia Anderson, one of the co-creators with her husband Jerry Anderson of Thunderbirds. Sylvia, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Now, it's caused so much excitement, this sale of these wonderful puppets, hasn't it?
I know, it's incredible. When I decided to sell the collection, I had no idea that it would cause all this attention. You know, it's been incredible.
It's like a bit of everybody's sort of childhood, not just ours, but I mean, it's been introduced to a new generation as well. I mean, how long was it? About 2-3 years ago? Christmas toys. I mean, Thunderbirds.
I know, Tracy Island and all that sort of thing. It just got a new generation of viewers, which was incredible, really. So we had our fans, our older fans, who'd always been there, and now you have this new generation of very, I thought, you know, sophisticated kids brought up on Lucas and Spielberg.
Joe made a very good point, which I'm going to steal, when she said that, you know, you worry that kids today are so sophisticated, they want computer this and computer that, but they still loved those puppets from the 60s, didn't they?
They did. I mean, it's incredible to me, but it just shows that children are really mini people, aren't they? I mean, they're people that have wide tastes. We just sort of lump children together and say, oh, they'll like this or like that. But I think when it comes to something, I think quality, which I think ours was, and it was family viewing, it was feel good.
I didn't know that it was you that did Lady Penelope's voice. I mean, how did you decide what sort of a voice she should have?
Well, obviously she had to be a bit posh, living in a stately home.
And being Lady, yes.
Okay, Lady Penelope Crichton Maud, actually. And so I thought I'd do a sort of very twee sort of voice like that. And it was a touch of the Joan Greenwood's, actually, so I did that sort of thing.
Very husky and very sort of
sexy
as well.
It's naturally husky now, I have to say.
Please say Parker in that voice.
Oh, Parker.
It's absolutely wonderful. Now, we thought, I think, when Martin spoke to that lady there, he mentioned the sum of something like £25,000 possibly for the Penelope doll, which is probably one of the most popular characters.
Yes.
How much, what's the price?
Well, that's the reserve price.
That's the reserve.
So that was a suggestion to me from Phillips. But who knows? I mean, judging by the interest we've had from all over the world, we've got people flying in from Japan, from Australia. I did an interview this morning with Australia.
Will you be upset to see them go, Sylvia? Those puppets?
It's a mixed feeling,
it's your
really.
family's legacy.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, I've discussed it with my family. They're quite happy about this, and I've had the puppets around me for about 30 years. I have to tell you a confession on air that Lady Penelope stood in my loo for about 10 years. Which is very off-putting for some of the visitors.
Probably add to the value that Lady Penelope puppet sat in the real Lady Penelope's
things she could say. Yes, that's right.
She could talk.
Exactly.
Well, you will obviously be at the sale this afternoon.
I will indeed, yes.
You're resisting the urge to buy one of them back now that you've made a decision.
I'm not sure whether I'll actually sit in, but I may be peeping behind a curtain just having a look.
And lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 8:26 after the break. Sally's got the latest weather, but in Lorraine's brand new 9 o'clock live show, she's got part 1 of a brand new series looking at women who do jobs most of us would kill to do. In fact,
papers for this morning. We go back to London now and to Paul with the business.
Thanks very much indeed, Justin. It is 30 years now since the Thunderbirds crew and their chums, Captain Scarlet and Joe 90, began their slightly wobbly fight against the forces of evil through the medium of Supermarionation, or puppet string if you prefer. Today, Lady Penelope herself goes under the auctioneer's hammer. Sylvia Anderson, one half of the partnership that created the series, is selling off her puppets. As Guy Ruddle reports, although they are hardly going for a song, it'll be peanuts compared to the millions of pounds now being generated by the Thunderbirds revival.
5. Thunderbirds has thrilled children and no doubt their parents since the early 60s.
1.
They were the creation of husband and wife team Jerry and Sylvia Anderson, who also gave us such cult heroes as Captain Scarlet and Joe 90, before the public and acrimonious breakup of their partnership. Now Sylvia has decided to sell her 4 main puppets, including her favourite Lady Penelope, as part of a collection of Anderson Productions memorabilia.
Every time I went away, I had to put them into a bank vault. Then I had to heavily insure them. And in the end, they became a sort of liability. If I'd been sitting home just thinking about Thunderbird days and had all the characters there and just gazing at them and thinking of all the glory days and getting royalties, I guess it would be a different thing.
The total collection, including some 80 heads and various other memorabilia, is expected to fetch £90,000. But the undoubted star of the show is Lady Penelope herself. Modelled on and voiced by Sylvia Anderson, her guide price is £20,000. Likely buyers are rich enthusiasts. Sylvia Anderson may make as much as £70,000 from the sale of her 4 puppets, which may seem like a lot of money, but it's nothing compared with what might have been. Back in the 70s, her ex-husband sold the rights to all the Anderson puppets in a move which she describes as an act of madness. The price was rumoured to be around £70,000, but fuelled by a recent Thunderbirds revival, including television repeats and stage shows, royalties over the last 20 years are estimated at over £10 million. There's no way the Andersons could have known that their creations would be so popular so long after their first airing. But the original creators aren't the ones cashing in. Today's episode will be the last for Sylvia Anderson.
Home, milady?
Home, Parker.
Well, not home time yet for us, I'm afraid, although that is the business news for the moment. Let me tell you very quickly what the FTSE's done before I depart. It's ahead at 10 points yesterday.
BBC News, Northern Ireland.
And this morning it was the final launch for Thunderbirds. Not so much Thunderbirds a go as going, gone at an auction of the classic puppets in London. The star of the auction, as of the series, was Lady Penelope, as Christine Stewart now reports.
Lady Penelope for £30,000.
Lady Penelope.
Someone else has now finally taken hold of her destiny. International Rescue's sophisticated London agent returned to the city for her own auction, joining Captain Scarlet, Joe 90 and other models. The original puppets, famous for their moving parts, were considered a major technical achievement of their time, using the film technique known as Supermarionation. Now they've been sold.
A very clever way of dispensing of us.
The person responsible was Sylvia Anderson, the creator and voice of Lady Penelope.
I just hope they don't go on just to, financial gain, but I don't think so. We've got some real fans out there, and someone's going to really look after these characters, I'm sure.
And the scale of devotion was evident.
Just being able to see the puppets, and just now I was fortunately to have my photograph taken with Sylvia and actually hold Lady Penelope, and that's just made the day for me as it is. I care about those puppets. I'd love to see them stay in this country for a start, so that we can see them at conventions.
They'll still be around for me. They're on film, and I can play the records, and it's very, very strong in my memory. So, no regrets.
Good day, milady.
Christine Stewart, BBC News.
They will surely never, never really go. Now at almost 26 minutes past 1, the main news again. After a warning that Britain will be unable to afford a truly...
Cutbacks in... Well, Parker, the butler who strangled vowels, taught a generation how not to speak. There he is. Say it.
You rag, milady.
Well, he's saying many of those he served at International Rescue put on the auction block today. Now, Sylvia Anderson, one of the puppet's creators, is putting them all up for sale. Lady Penelope is the gem in the collection, expected to go for a staggering £25,000.
Every time I went away, I had to put them into a bank vault. Then I had to heavily insure them. And in the end, they became sort of liability.
Can you spot the difference between those two? Well, ever heard of Bishop? It may not be what you think. It is, of course, British Intelligence Service Headquarters Operation Priest. Its prime agent, darling of the clergy, is this man, Father Stanley Unwin. Well, I've never heard of him, but I'm told it's a name to drive fear into the hearts of evil men. He is being offered at £6,000 to £10,000. Yes, Captain Scarlet, the indestructible hero of Spectrum, was modelled on Cary Grant. He had the unique power of recreating himself even after being killed, which you'll have to admit is a neat trick. Now, all that, the secret of eternal life untold, and snip at £15,000 to £18,000. Joe 90, another of the specials. He was the person who convinced me my glasses didn't look so stupid after all. Now, he's dressed in red collarless 4-button jacket with black trim and 2 breast pockets over a cream pullover, red trousers and red black zip fastened boots. His legs are fixed and he is the grand total of 17 inches high. And all that for £12,000 to £15,000. But the greatest mystery of all is what happened to Parker. Not up for sale today. Well, is he basking on a Bahamian beach, walking on the wild side, or just retired in Rotherham? Or perhaps just driving a minicab, which we know was his secret desire all along.
Thank you, madam. Home, milady.
Home, Parker.
All that from Adam Shaw. Adam's birthday yesterday, actually, and I forgot. Therefore, I am in the doghouse. Another birthday today. Ours, working lunches, that is.
Still ahead, we'll be chatting about your collections to our expert in the studio. But first, here's News Round with Chris.
A meeting in the rainforest with the lost South American tribe. And Thunderbirds are gone. The famous puppets sell for thousands. Hello, and first tonight to an exciting discovery in South America.
The United Nations are trying to work out a way to reverse the ecological catastrophe. When they do come up with ideas, they'll face another problem: how to pay for the shrinking sea.
And finally, some of the most famous stars never to have lived went to new homes today. Puppets from Thunderbirds and other shows by the same makers were auctioned for thousands of pounds. Newsround's Paul Welsh reports.
Parker.
4, 3,000, 2, 1.
Phillips and Thunderbirds are now go.
Over 100 pieces of puppet show history went on sale to the highest bidder this morning, from Thunderbirds, Joe 90, Captain Scarlet and other shows from the same makers. The puppets were put on auction by one of the creators of the shows. Sylvia Anderson was the model for Lady Penelope, and she did the voice.
It is a part of my life that will go on anyway, because people seem to remember everything that happened, and they're on film. And as I said before, I can always talk to myself as Lady Penelope. I use that sort of voice for Lady Penelope. It's much more
twee than my own.
Middle of 880 now, the book's out.
And the star of the show was the star of today's auction.
It's all done at 30,000, it's on the telephone.
She fetched £30,000.
Good day, milady.
People are bidding on the telephone from all over the world, and everything's going for much more than expected. £9,000 for Joe 90. Captain Blue's head alone fetched £1,700. £420 for Jeff Tracy's shirt.
Well, I'll be.
Superfan Phil Ray lost count of how many pieces he bought, around 20, including Captain Scarlet for £18,000.
I used to watch these programmes as a child and I never lost interest in them. I already had a big collection of models and puppets from the Anderson shows, and it was a unique opportunity to add to that, really.
A very clever way of disposing of us.
And that's just about it for tonight, but don't forget our CFAX service. There's gossip, quizzes, competitions and contacts for stories. It all begins on page 170, so check it out. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye.
Bullied at school because of the incident. Finally, Lady Penelope pulled her own strings today, commanding an unexpectedly high figure when the auctioneer brought his hammer down. She was one of many famous puppets up for sale, and the bidding was brisk. Chris Roberts reports.
Last chance now at £30,000. All done at 30,000.
1. Thunderbirds are go.
More a case of Thunderbirds were gone today as puppets from the cult 60s television show were auctioned for the kind of prices normally reached by rare antiques.
Get the Rolls Royce. We are going for a little drive.
Parting with her collection was Sylvia Anderson, the voice behind and inspiration for Lady Penelope.
We're talking about characters that have been sort of part of my family really for the last 30 years, but you know, you have to move on. They'll still be around.
Although Penelope fetched almost £35,000, the auction's male star had the priceless talent in his series of being indestructible. Although the Mysterons never managed to get their hands on Captain Scarlet, he was captured today for just £20,000.
The main news is Paddy Ashdown's speech to the Liberal Democrat conference. In it, he challenged Labour to confront the issues and decide where they stand on them. And Yorkshire Water has told its customers to avoid baths and showers or face...
Paddy Ashdown has told the Liberal Democratic Party conference spending on education and the environment should rise, even if it meant higher taxes. And finally, Lady Penelope was always a class act in the Thunderbirds. Today, she stole the show again and sold for £34,500, no strings attached, at an auction in London. Chris Roberts reports.
Phillips and Thunderbirds are now go. And go they did. These foot-high puppets fetching prices you would normally associate with rare antiques.
3.
Last chance now at £30,000.
2.
All done at 30,000.
1. Thunderbirds are go.
The aristocratic Lady Penelope fittingly proved the most valuable lot at nearly £35,000.
International Rescue. Lady Penelope speaking.
The character was based on and voiced by the seller of today's collection, Sylvia Anderson.
We're talking about characters that have been sort of part of my family really for the last 30 years, but you know, you have to move on. They'll still be around.
Another character from the era, the indestructible Captain Scarlet, also found himself under the hammer. Although the Mysterons could never get their hands on him, Captain Scarlet was captured today for a mere £20,000.
That's it tonight. We'll be here again tomorrow. For me and for my colleagues here at ITN, good night.